I was having a discussion with a family member about my point of view on the Father Yahuwah's true name. I asked the question about if they honestly believed that back then in that time the Savior's name was J-E-S-U-S, even knowing that the letter J didn't come into existence until around 1524. But somewhere during the discussion they brought up the fact that the Bible says we should only have one wife. I thought it was odd for them to bring it up during our discussion. And then after a day of meditation, I realized that I believed that they were comparing my belief with Muslim faith. I couldn't understand more that there are many people out there that are blind to understanding the difference between other religions. Declaring the Father's name Yahuwah doesn't make you a religion like Muslim or any other religion. Using the term Torah in our Bible doesn't make you Muslim or some other religion. Observing the Sabbath does not make you Jewish or of a different faith. Yahushua is not European and he is not Muslim or Arabic. Yahushua was Hebrew and his bloodline was Hebrew. I don't even want to argue his skin complexion. It's not important to me how he looked when he dwelled among us. But the fact is they made him European. They gave him a European name and made him look European. Because I accepted the Father's true name doesn't make me a Muslim, and it doesn't make me not a believer of the one and only true Savior. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that believe that if you use the Hebrew name Yahuwah, then you must be Muslim. So now I'm being compared to someone wanting to have more than one wife, and maybe someone capable of blowing up something. So Shaitan has many ways of how to derail someone from knowing the truth. The origin name Yahuwah is not Islamic, nor is it European. But it's a name that he gave through his servant Musha when he came to deliver his people out of Mishra. I used to think that the Bible was so divine that Yahuwah would allow scriptures to be tainted. But when I think about what the wicked prophet Balaam did to the children of Yesharal, he himself knew that he couldn't alter the words of Yahuwah, but he showed others how to cause his blessed tribe to bring curses among themselves. And Moshe said to Alahim, see, when I come to the children of Yesharal and say to them, the Alahim when your father has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And Alahim said to Moshe, Ahaya, Asher, Ahaya. And he said, thus shall ye say to the children of Yasharal, Ahaya has sent me to you. And Alahim said further to Moshe, thus shall ye say to the children of Yasharal, Yahuwah, Alahim of your fathers, the Alahim of Abraham, the Alahim of Yeshua, the Alahim of Yahuwah has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. The name that Alahim gave Moshe was Yahuwah, and he said that would be his name forever. He didn't say you can translate his name to whatever name you want to call him. Verse Alahim 8. Then Shalomah assembled the elders of Yesharal and all the heads of the tribes, the chief fathers of the children of Yesharal, to King Shalomah in Jerusalem, to bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah from the city of Dawood, which is in Sin. And all the men of Yesharal assembled to King Shalomah at the festival in the month of Ethanim, which is in the 7th month. And all the elders of Yesharal came, and all the priests took up the ark, and brought up the ark of Yahuwah in the tent of meeting, and all the Kadesh utensils that were in the tent. The priests and the Alahim brought them up. And King Shalomah and all the assembly of Yesharal who had assembled with him were with him before the ark, slaughtering so many sheep and cattle that they could not be counted or numbered. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Yahuwah to its place, and to the speaking place of the house, to the most Kadesh place under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubims covered over the ark and its poles. And the poles extended so that the ends of the poles were seen from the Kadesh place in front of the speaking place, but they were not seen from the outside, and they are there to this yom. There was nothing there in the ark, only the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe put there at Korah, where Yahuwah made a covenant with the children of Yesharal when they came out of the land of Mishra. And it came to be, when the priests came out of the Kadesh place, that the clouds filled the house of Yahuwah when they came out of the land of Mishra, so that the priests were unable to stand and perform the service because of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahuwah filled the house of Yahuwah. And Shalimah said, Yahuwah has said he will dwell in the dark cloud. I have indeed built you an exalted house, an established place for you to dwell in forever. And the king turned around and blessed all the assembly of Yasharal, while the assembly of Yasharal was standing. And he said, Blessed be Yahuwah Alahim of Yasharal, who spoke with his mouth to my father David, and with his hand has filled it, saying, Since the Yom I brought my people Yasharal out of Mishram, I have chosen no city from any tribe of Yasharal in which to build a house for my name to be there, but I have chosen David to be over my people Yasharal. And it was in the heart of my father David to build the house of the name of Yahuwah Alahim of Yasharal. But Yahuwah said to my father David, Because it has been in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Only you do not build the house, but your son who is coming in your loins, he does build the house for my name. Now Yahuwah has established his word which he spoke, and I have been raised up instead of my father David, and sit on the throne of Yasharal, as Yahuwah promised, and build a house of the name of Yahuwah Alahim of Yasharal. And have appointed there a place for the ark, wherein the covenant of Yahuwah which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Mishram. And Shalimah stood before the altar of Yahuwah in front of all the assembly of Yasharal, and spread out his hand towards the Shamayim, and said, Yahuwah Alahim of Yasharal, there is no Alahim in the Shamayim above or on the arrest below like you, guarding your covenant and kindness with your servants who walk before you with all their heart. Who has guarded that which you did promise your servant David my father. You have both spoken with your mouth and have filled with your hand, as it is this young. And now Yahuwah Alahim of Yasharal, God what you promised your servant David my father, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours before me, sitting on the throne of Yasharal, only if your sons guard their way, to walk before me, as you have walked before me. And now, O Alahim of Yasharal, please let your words come true which you have spoken to your servant David my father. For it is true, Alahim dwells on the arrest. See, the Shamayims and the Shamayims of the Shamayims are unable to contain you. How much less this house which I have built. Yet shall you turn to the prayers of your servants and his supplications, O Yahuwah my Alahim, and listen to the cry and the prayers which your servants is praying before you today. For your eyes to be open towards this house, Layla and Yom, towards the place which you have said, My name is there, to listen to the prayers which your servants make towards this place. Then shall you hear the supplications of your servants and of your people Yasharal when you pray towards this place, when you hear in your dwelling place in Shamayim, and shall hear and forgive. If anyone sins against his neighbors, and have lifted up an oath on him to cause him to swear, and come and swears before your altar in the house, then hear in the Shamayims and act and rightly rule your service, declaring the lawless one lawless, bringing his ways on his head, and declaring the obedient right by giving him according to his obedience. When your people Yasharal are smitten before an enemy, because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back to you and omit your name, and pray and make supplication to you in this house. Then hear in the Shamayims and forgive the sins of your people Yasharal, and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. When the Shamayims are shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against you, when they pray towards this place and omit your name, and turn from their sins because you afflict them, then hear in the Shamayim and forgive the sins of your servants, your people Yasharal, for you teach them the good ways in which they should walk, and should give rain on your land which you have given to your people as an inheritance. When there is scarcities of food in the land, when there is pestilence, blight, mildew, locusts, grasshoppers, when their enemy distresses them in the land of their cities, any plague, any sickness, whatever prayers, whatever supplications made by any one of all your people Yasharal, each knowing the plagues of his own heart, and shall spread out his hands towards this house. Then hear in the Shamayim your missions, and forgive, and act, and render to everyone according to all his ways, whose heart you know, because you alone know the hearts of all the sons of men, so that they fear you all the younger, that they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. And also concerning the foreigners who is not your people Yasharal, but has come from a far land for your name's sake. since they hear of your great name and your strong hand and your outstretched arm, and he shall come and pray towards this house. Here in the Shamayim, your dwelling place, and do according to all for which the foreigners call to you, so that all people of all the rest know your name and fear you, as do the people of Yasharal, and know that this house which I have built is called by your name. When your people go out to battle against their enemies in the way you have sent them, and they shall pray to Yahuwah towards the city which you have chosen, and towards the house which you have built for your name, then you shall hear in the Shamayim their supplications, and maintain their cause. When they sin against you, for there is no one that does not sin, and you become engaged with them and give them to the enemy, and they take them captives to the land of the enemy, far and near. And they shall turn back their hearts in the land where they have been taken captives, and they shall turn and make supplications to you in the land of those who took them captives, saying, We have sinned and acted crookedly, we have committed lawless. And they shall turn back to you with all their hearts and with all their beings in the land of their enemies whom led them away captives, and shall pray to you towards their land which you gave to their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which you have built for your name. Then shall you hear in the Shamayim, your dwelling place, their prayers and their supplications, and maintain their cause. And forgive your people who have sinned against you and all their offenses which they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion for those who took them captives, and they shall have compassion on them. For they are your people and your inheritance whom you have brought out of Mishram, out of the iron furnace. Let your eyes be open to the supplications of your servant and the supplications of your people, Yasharal, to listen to them whenever they call to you. For you have separated them to yourselves for an inheritance out of all the people of their rest, as you spoke to the hand of your servant Musha, when you brought our fathers out of Mishram, Adonai, Yahuwah. And it came to be when Shalomah had ended praying all the prayers and supplications to Yahuwah, that he rose up from before the altar of Yahuwah, from kneeling on his knees, with his hands spread up to the Shamayim. And he stood up and blessed all the assembly of Yasharal with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahuwah, who has given rest to his people Yasharal, according to all that he promised. There is not failed one word of all his good word, which he promised through his servant Musha. Yahuwah our Alahim is with us as he was with our fathers. He does not leave us nor forsake us. To incline our hearts to himself, to walk in all his way, and to God his commands and his laws and his directives, which he commanded our fathers. And let those words of mine with which I have made supplications before Yahuwah be near Yahuwah our Alahim, Yom, and Layla, to maintain the cause of his service and the cause of his people, Yesharal, the matter of each Yom and its Yom, so that all the people of the arrest might know that Yahuwah is Alahim, there is no one else. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahuwah our Alahim, to walk in his laws and guard his commands, as at this Yom. And the king and all of Yasharal with him made slaughter before Yahuwah. And Shalomah brought peace offerings which he slaughtered to Yahuwah, 22,000 bulls and 120,000 sheep. Thus the king and all the children of Yasharal dedicated the house of Yahuwah. On that Yom, the king set apart the middle of the courtyard that was in the front of the house of Yahuwah, for there he had made the burnt offerings and the grain offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the bronze altar that was before Yahuwah was too small to contain the burnt offerings and the grain offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And Shalomah at that time observed the festivals, and all Yasharal with him, a great assembly from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi of Mishram, before Yahuwah our Alahim, 7 Yemen, and 7 Yemen, 14 Yemen. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went to their tent rejoicing and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahuwah had done for his servant David, and for Yasharal his people. When Shalomah completed the building of the temple of Yahuwah, he had this great ceremony of slaughtering bulls and sheep with the people of Yasharal. But the offerings was also for foreigners far and near. People came from distant lands to take part in that great ceremony. So back then, even though people weren't Yahudim, they still were able to be grafted into the kingdom by accepting the faith and culture of Yahudah. Like the Samaritan woman by the well knew that through her belief in the Mashiach, she could be grafted into salvation. But after Yahuwah offered himself as the ultimate sacrifice, those ceremonies were no longer needed. But everyone outside of his bloodline must be grafted in. He said that in order to receive salvation, we must drink of his blood and eat of his flesh. A lot of people didn't understand those things, so they went away from his teachings. But now that Yahuwah is sitting back on his throne, he sent back his Ruach HaKodesh to dwell among us. We don't need to be at his temple or travel from a distant land to Yasharol to receive the gift of salvation. We can be anywhere in the world to receive Yahuwah's Spirit. There are many groups out there with different understandings, but I believe this is the road to salvation. His Spirit must dwell within us, but we got to make sure that it is his Spirit and not some counterfeit spirit. A few hours ago, after making my last statement, I was lying down in a half sleep. A thought came to me saying, I believe the thought said, unless you come in the full power of Yahuwah, the Spirit of Yahuwah is not in you. Then I felt a presence hovering over me like a presence I received many times in prayer and worship. I don't know if they were my thoughts or some other thought or a message from Yahuwah. But as I assessed the thought and perceived the words as saying, unless you die, are willing to die for Yahuwah, you can't be his. You can't have one foot in the world and one foot in his kingdom. You're either all the way in his kingdom or you're none of his. You must be 100% fully converted to serving Yahuwah Alahim. Mark 13, and as he went out of the Kadesh place, one of his Talmudim said to him, Teacher, see what stone and what buildings. And Yahushua answering said to him, Do you see all these buildings? Not one stone shall be left upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite of the Kadesh place, Kepha and Yakub and Yehochanan and Andre asked him separately, Say to us, when shall these events be, and what shall be the signal when all this is going to be accomplished? And Yahuwah began to say to them, Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am he, and they shall lead many astray. And when you hear wars and reports of wars, do not be troubled. It has to take place, but the end is not yet. For ethnicity shall rise against ethnicity, and rain against rain, and there shall be earthquakes in various places, and there shall be scarcities of food and disturbances. These are the beginning of birth pains. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils and assemblies. You shall be beaten, and you shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a witness to them. And the Besorah has to be proclaimed first to all the Goyim. And when they lead you away and deliver you up, do not worry beforehand what you are to say, but whatever is given to you in the hour, speak that. For it is not you who are speaking, but the Ruach HaKodesh. And brother shall deliver up brother to death, and father his child, and children shall rise up against parents, and shall put them to death. And you shall be hated of all because of my name, but he who shall endure to the end, he shall be delivered. And we see the abominations laid waste spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up where it should not be. He who reads, let him understand. They let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains. And he who is on the housetop, let him not come down into the house, nor come in to take whatever out of his house. And he who is in the field, let him not go back to get his cloak. And pray that your flight does not take place in the winter. For in those Yomim there shall be distress such as not been from the beginning of the creation, which Alahim created until this time, nor ever shall be. And if Adonai had not shortened the Yomim, no flesh would be delivered, but because of the chosen one whom he chose, he shortened the Yomim. And if anyone say to you, Look, here is the Mashiach, or Look, there, do not believe it. For malicious Mashiachs and malicious prophets shall rise and show signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. And you, take heed, see, I have forewarned you of it all. But in those moments after the distress, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars of the heaven shall fall, and the powers of the Shamayim shall be shaken. And then they shall see the Son of Adam coming in the clouds with much power and esteem. And then shall he send his messengers and assemble his chosen ones from the four winds, from the farthest part of the earth and the farthest part of heaven. And learn the parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and put forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see these taking place, know that it is near, at the door. Truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away till all this take place. The heavens and the earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. But concerning that young and that hour no one knows, not even the messengers in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Take heed, watch and pray, for you do not know when that time is. As a man going abroad, having left his house and giving authority to his servants, and in each his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Watch therefore, for you do not know when the Adonai of the house is coming, in the evening, or at midnight, or at the crowing of the rooster, or in the morning, lest coming suddenly he should find you sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch. Matthew 24 says that we are to watch and be sober. I believe that it is saying that we are to stay focused and clear-minded on his return. We should be focused more on doing Yahuwah's work than putting too much time in the things of this world. Yahuwah's children anticipate his return, but his children always have been waiting on his return. We've been looking for his return for almost 2,000 years. We must try to stay focused in the spirit of Yahuwah. The flesh is weak, but the spirit of Yahuwah is willing. When Yahuwah went up by himself to pray, he asked his Talmudim to stay up and watch, but they kept falling asleep because their flesh was weak. I pray, Yahuwah, that you give us the strength to watch for your return and not falling asleep. Give us the desire and the will to stay focused on you, and that we stay guarded for your return. Thanks for watching, and thanks for sharing. If Yahuwah is willing, I'll see you on the next video. So until then, stay blessed and be blessed and continue to be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah.